Greetings, Townsend families. Welcome to our virtual remote learning orientation. We will be sharing important information that you and your scholar will need to know in order to understand how remote learning will work and what supports will be available to your scholar and your family throughout this time. I am Dr. Shalonda Garfield, the very proud principal of Andrew J. Townsend School number 39. I joined the Rochester City School District in 2008 and have served as a classroom teacher, assistant principal, and principal. I taught grades 2 through 6 in various schools across the district. I later served as an assistant principal and interim middle school principal at East Lower School. And prior to coming to school number 39, I was the principal of Lincoln Park Elementary School number 44. I was born and raised right here in the city of Rochester. I attended Rochester City Schools. I cannot think of a more significant time to be an educator than now as we tackle the challenges of a double pandemic dealing with COVID and the civil unrest that is plaguing our country. While this presents some challenges for all of us, I am truly looking forward to this opportunity that we have before us to truly reimagine education together as we approach a school year like no other. Here with me is Mrs. Christine Turnquist, the assistant principal.
Hi, everyone. I'm very, very happy to be a part of the Townsend family. This year marks my 20th year in the Rochester City School District. I have been a music teacher, an intervention teacher, an expanded learning resource coordinator, and an assistant principal. I look forward to going on this journey with you and your scholars.
So some key people are pictured here in this presentation that you will need to know, and they will be available to support your family. Here pictured is Eileen Eller. She is the Associate Director of Special Education. Yvetta Nelson is our family liaison. Renee Smith is our secretary. Iris Vargas Andujar is our attendance assistant. Our instructional support staff includes a reading support teacher, Nicole DeMarco, our instructional coach for grades 3 through 6, Elizabeth Grajo, our instructional coach for K2, Teresa McKenzie. Our social emotional support staff include our behavior support specialist, Mr. Osvaldo Arroyo, our psychologist, Vicky Ceravolo, and our social worker, Catherine Buskey. Our commitment here at Andrew J. Townsend School number 39 remains. We are committed to developing leaders who are independent thinkers, engaged in authentic learning that includes the real world and influence in their community. We are committed to partnering with families and the community to ensure equity and excellence for every scholar every day. Our motto here at school number 39 is to leave your mark. Instruction. So families, you'll continue to hear two terms throughout remote learning, and that is synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning are learning experiences that involve live, real-time interaction with the teacher. Synchronous learning may be used, among other things, for large group instruction, small group instruction, and/or individualized direct instruction, collaborative discussions between scholars and their peers, or writing conferences with the teacher, intervention services to provide additional academic support and enrichment for our scholars, scholar assistant for one-to-one instructional support if scholars are struggling with a particular lesson or particular content, and social emotional learning experiences will be offered through synchronous learning. This time is a time for scholars to interact with their peers and learn from each other. During asynchronous learning, that includes independent learning experiences that your scholar will be expected to engage in, and it will not include a live real-time interaction with the teacher. Asynchronous learning experiences may take the form of a pre-recorded video of the teacher providing direct instruction, a video of another teacher teaching a particular skill. It may be a link to an article for your scholar to read and respond to. There may be a math problem or a science problem set that the scholars need to work on, and that gets submitted for feedback to their teacher. Our virtual platforms that we'll be using for remote learning is Seesaw and Google Classroom primarily. Seesaw will be for grades pre-K through 2, and Google Classroom will be for scholars in grades 3 through 6. So teachers will upload lessons daily on Seesaw and Google Classroom for their scholars. And that will be where scholars will access their assignments for asynchronous learning. All synchronous learning will happen on Zoom. So teachers will provide a login information for your scholar, and your scholar will receive a schedule, and they'll log in at a particular time when synchronous learning is occurring in their schedule, and they'll have live instruction from their teacher and with their peers. Special education services. Special education services will continue to be available to all of our scholars who have individual educational plans. Specialized instruction services will continue throughout remote learning. Lessons will be modified by the special education teacher to meet the individual needs of scholars, and that will be based on their IEP goals. Distant learning plans will be developed with the teacher, family, scholar, and support services provider. So parents, you'll know exactly what the scholars' goals are that they're working towards and what services are being provided to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students with disabilities. IEP and other special education related meetings will also occur on Zoom or via conference calls. Scholars will receive support from teaching assistants and paraprofessionals throughout their school day if they should need additional support beyond what their classroom teacher is providing. Enrichment and intervention and enrichment. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of every week at between 3 and 3:30, all scholars will receive intervention or enrichment services. This will include support with ELA and math, and this may come in the form of synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. So intervention and enrichment looks like, during synchronous learning, may look like a small group instruction, or it may be one-to-one instruction with the teacher or an academic support staff. So those coaches whose pictures I showed you in the beginning of the presentation, they may work directly with your scholar to provide some additional support with academics. The intervention and enrichment will be targeted towards scholars' individual learning needs. There will also be some asynchronous work during this time as well, because that allows the teacher to be able to work with a small group or work one-to-one with scholars. So if your scholar is not engaged in synchronous work during this time, they'll be completing assignments that the teacher provides, and that can be on Zearn for math. It may be SuccessMaker for ELA, some form of a differentiated assignment based on your scholar's individual learning needs. There also may be an independent study that your scholar may be engaged in. Social emotional learning will be offered daily to all of our scholars. It will begin in at the start of their schedule, the start of their day. Our focus here at Andrew J. Townsend School number 39 is really focusing on growing leaders at every grade level. And so we really are focused on teaching leadership skills and life skills to all of our scholars, helping them to find their voice and really take ownership for their learning and ownership for their future. And so you'll hear some more information about what the Leader in Me process is, and see how your scholar is growing as a leader. Academic support and social emotional support. So if your scholar requires support or is struggling and needs some additional support beyond what the classroom teacher is able to offer daily, your scholar will have the daily intervention block between 3 o'clock and 3:30, where they can get some one-to-one instruction or small group instruction, depending on their needs. Teachers will also offer office hours every day. Wednesdays, they'll have office hours at multiple times a day so that they are accessible to support scholars if they're struggling academically. Our reading intervention teacher and the instructional coaches will support with pre-teaching, reteaching, and or providing additional support to scholars who are struggling. We would like to make sure that each of our scholars are paired up with a Genius Buddy. and that's a scholar who may be able to Zoom or engage over the phone with their peers on a particular assignment to provide support to each other. We also are working on developing some community partnerships to provide some resources to our families who may need it. We understand that most of our parents are working during the day and may not be able to support their scholar with asynchronous learning. So we are working on developing some partnerships so that we can provide some support, some additional support to get scholars help with asynchronous learning if families aren't available to support their child at home. So more information will be given out at our in-person orientation about that, and we'll also mail a letter home once those partnerships are fully up and running. We also will offer independent and or group counseling with our social worker. So for any of our scholars who are struggling to stay connected with remote learning, who may require additional social emotional support, can get counseling from the social worker. All of our scholars with counseling on their IEP will also receive their counseling services as well. Virtual clubs. We are hoping to get some virtual clubs up and running. This will be based on our scholars' interests and what they're interested in terms of enrichment to enhance their remote learning experience. This will provide an opportunity for scholars to engage with their peers in a non-academic way. And it's similar to what would occur if they were in person in school. So we really want to make sure that we are offering some additional enrichment for our scholars during remote learning. So once school gets up and running with remote learning, we are going to survey our scholars to see what their interests are and work with our staff and build upon their expertise. And we may have families that may be parents that may be interested in co-facilitating one of our virtual clubs, and we would love to have that. So if you're a really great cook, you may lead a cooking club or may help to do a cooking lesson for our scholars with one of our staff members. So we'll talk more about that as we get started with remote learning and learn what our scholars' interests are and what clubs they're interested in taking. Mrs. Turnquist, can you talk a little bit about the schedule and what families can expect for the first day of school?
Absolutely. So the first day of school is September 14th, and all of our schedules start at 9 a.m. Students should be logged on with the Zoom code that will be provided by their teacher by 9 o'clock on that date. They have a full schedule. Their day runs till 3:30 in the afternoon, and it includes ELA, math, science, social studies, special subjects, and MTSS and enrichment. If you at any point in time are struggling with the schedule or getting logged onto Zoom, please don't hesitate to reach out to the school or your child's teacher. So we have developed some online etiquettes to help support our scholars when they are working online and doing synchronous learning through Zoom. We would like all of our scholars to be logged on a few minutes before their class starts to make sure that they are ready. We would also ask that they have their Genius boxes with them and available when they are doing their learning. And lastly, we would also like them to have a table or a desktop or a flat surface available in a quiet area for them to complete their work. We are going to also ask our scholars to try to use some online etiquettes to keep distractions to a minimum. Things like being muted when you're not talking so that your other classmates can hear, using appropriate language, and wearing school appropriate clothing. It is going to be important that all of our scholars have a set routine and schedule and understand what tasks they need to complete each and every day. And that, of course, all voices get to be heard and that they collaborate in a positive way so that we can tap into everybody's strengths and creativity. And finally, parents, please remember that when students and scholars are learning and they're on Zoom, that everything happening around them can be seen and heard on Zoom. So the quieter the location, the better. Thank you. A attendance. So every day is important. There will be new learning happening throughout remote learning. It is critical that our scholars are logged in and engaging with learning every single day that they can. If you're having trouble getting logged on or having trouble engaging with the remote learning, please do not hesitate to reach out to the school or directly to your scholars teacher. The district is providing meal sites throughout the city for children ages 2 through 18 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can find these meal sites on our website as well as rcsdk12.org. And parent communication is going to be key during this time of remote learning. Please contact the main office at 467-8816 to update any changes to your contact information. That way you can get all of our robocalls, emails, and mailings that may go home with important information. And again, please follow our school social media on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Parents as partners. We strongly believe that supportive and positive parental and family involvement is the key to scholars' success. Our Partners in Education team will meet monthly, the third Wednesday of every month. And that team will be led by our family liaison and in collaboration with myself to ensure that we are continuing to meet the needs of our scholars and that we are partnering with our parents. We invite all of our parents to join. These meetings will be virtually, and again, it will be once every month. We really need our families to be the voice for change. We'll be talking about the reopening of school and planning for scholars when they come back, and really making sure that we are reflecting and revisiting our remote learning plan. And we need our parents at the table to make sure that your voices are being heard. So if you're interested in joining our Partners in Education team, please contact our family liaison, Ms. Yvetta Nelson. You can email her. She will also be at our in-person orientation next week to be able to connect with, and you will receive her phone number and email contact information in your scholars folder. Early literacy programs. So we have a partnership with Rock the Future. And so this partnership really focuses on grades K through 3 and making sure that our scholars are reading on or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade. We're really going to be focusing on early reading success. So one of the things we're going to do to kick off this partnership for the 2020-2021 school year is to have a Read 39 book challenge. And so scholars who read 39 books or more between September 14th and October 14th will gift card to be able to purchase more books of their choice. All of our scholars in grades K through 3 will receive a home library, which includes a bookshelf and books. There'll be reading incentives throughout the year to continue to promote the importance of early literacy for our scholars. This does not mean that we are neglecting the importance of reading and literacy for our grades 4 through 6 scholars, but we're really focused on grades K through 3 because we know and research shows that scholars who are reading on grade level or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade experience greater success in school. So more information about this partnership will be available in all of our scholars folders for grades K through 3, and you'll be able to get that information at our in-person orientation. So part 2, I've referenced the in-person orientation multiple times, will occur on September 11th between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. The in-person orientation will be at our school at 145 Midland Avenue. It will be an outdoor event. Masks are required for all staff, all families. During this time, families will be able to meet the teacher, meet the staff members who will be supporting your scholar during remote learning. Families will also be able to pick up their Chromebooks and their Genius Learning boxes. And those Genius Learning boxes include all of the learning essentials that are needed for remote learning. So all of the supplies that scholars will need for the first 10 weeks of school. So again, that will occur on September 11th, and we hope to see all of our families there so that your scholar is prepared for the first day of school and have all of the materials that they need for learning. If that day and time does not work for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to the school. You can call the main office and we can schedule an alternative time for you. But we really want to make sure that all of our scholars have their materials on or before the start of school on September 14th. If you have any questions, please feel free to text or email info39@rcsdk12.org or call the main office 467-8816 between 8:30 and 3:30 p.m. We are here Monday through Friday, and this will be during remote learning as well. So there's always going to be someone in the building. We will, both administration, our family liaison, our office staff will be available to answer the phones. And if you need to come to the school for any reason, we will be here for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have additional questions, needs, or concerns. Thank you to those of you who submitted your questions in advance. I hope that I covered all of that information today. And if not, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm truly looking forward to partnering with you all and hope to see you all at our in-person orientation to pick up your Chromebooks and Genius Learning boxes next week on Friday, September 11th. Thank you.